Hello and a very warm welcome to the Form. Great to have you with us, and what a weekend to be back in action because of course it's Legends Day at Te Rapa as well as a Gallops meeting coming in from Riccarton. Not only that, but we've got Saturday night action from Alexandra Park, and we can't forget about some Kiwis across the ditch. All of that to come right here on the Form. Let's have a little look at what's on the agenda. We start the show with Matt Cameron to talk through his rise on Legends Day. We then have Aidan Rodley out and about at track work earlier in the week with key connections. Across the ditch to Sam Freedman, who's a number of chances, including the Cambridge stud, owns Zuzarella. And then to Craig Thompson, he talks through 6 races on Harness Millions night at Alexandra Park. Before we wrap up the show with Matt Cross, he goes cross-code as he talks Addington on Friday and also Riccarton on Saturday. Well, our first guest on the Form this morning is Matt Cameron. Of course, Legends Day is fast approaching and Matt has a number of key rides on the programme. Matt, a very good morning to you. I understand as we record this, you're on your way to Hastings. Hope that drive's going well.
Yeah, hey, good morning, Emily. Yeah, it's good. It's a little bit miserable across these just around Taupo, but by the looks of it, the weather's supposed to be pretty good in Hastings, so hopefully for a nice hot muggy day again.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's go through your rides on Saturday in racebook order, and I thought we'd start with the 2-year-old, which is in race number 3, Zahir. A horse you rode last time. What were your thoughts on that third at Wellington?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously won nicely his first start. Obviously a small field and got all favours outside the leader, but you know, he's at Wellington just a little bit green. He probably just did a bit wrong across that junction, as you know, with 2-year-olds. That big Wellington track can be a bit daunting to some of them, but yeah, I think with the better draw on Saturday, he should just slot just in behind them, hopefully, or outside the leader, and just get a bit of a guide around those corners. But I think Te Rapa will definitely suit him a little bit better than Wellington, and yeah, he should be hitting the line hard. So I really like the horse.
Obviously, that run was, I think, over the 1,100 metres, and you step up to the 1,200. That doesn't hold any concerns for you?
No, definitely not. Like I said to Lauren and the owners after the race, you know, I'd love to put him in a 1,400 metre race now, but you know, as a 3-year-old, that'll all come. But the further he goes, the better he'll be, and he's a big striding horse, and yeah, like I say, with a bit of time behind him too, he's only going to get better. So looking forward to seeing that.
Race number 4, you ride Leona Raw. Promising debut to finish in that second spot. Were you happy with that performance?
Yeah, I was. You know, she's, you know, Andrew and the team back at home have a big opinion of her. You know, it was a good, solid run first up. You know, she's jumped, she's led them the whole way and had to do the donkey work, and just got beaten and fought hard to the line from a horse who's had a few starts and is kind of a bit of hardened to those race day starts. So she's only going to improve from that, and Murray and Andrew wouldn't be kind of backing up as quickly as they are if she wasn't ready to go. So she's a lovely filly going forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do again.
Would your intention be to go to that forward position again?
No, I would go forward, but I probably wouldn't lead this time. I think with that first up run, it was a bit of a to see what would happen, and she happened to do all the donkey work. But hopefully, you know, a little bit smarter field. I think she'd hopefully just take a sit and get a guide into the race. And myself hadn't ridden her at the trials leading into it, so I just had to kind of had to sit and wait a little bit and see what she had. And now I know what she can do. She's I can kind of play a bit more of the cards and see where she ends up.
In race number 6, you've got Saddler's Chick. Matt, at just a second start, you rode her in the Royal Stakes. What did you make of that run?
Yeah, it was good. Like Stephen Marsh said, you know, we're probably throwing her in the deep end, but she's a filly who needs to get over ground, and, you know, you can instead of kind of mucking around with those littler races and weaker fields, I think we just, Stephen was pretty happy just to step her straight into that grade, and she didn't disgrace herself. A little bit green, as she only had a couple of starts, so coming off those couple of runs and a nice run last start, I think she's a big improver. She's going to be better with a bit of time, but Stephen Marsh's team's going really well at the moment, so it'll be interesting to see how she's coming along.
Now you've had sort of the benefit of a ride on her and the feel for her, would you go any different with your tactics on Saturday?
No, I think I just ride her where she lands. She's a filly, don't want to be on a bustle too much, so I think just where she lands and where she's comfortable, and I think they'll be happy if she's storming home the last little bit as she has before. So if she does everything right, she's got to be a chance of running in the first three.
And then, of course, we move on to the chosen one in the Herbie Dyke Stakes. No doubt you're super excited to ride him again, and just cast our minds back to that dominant victory over the mile last time. Really good stuff. And how has he been since then? Have you been able to get in and ride him at track work?
Yeah, I went and galloped him on yesterday morning, on Tuesday morning, and he was super. He galloped over 1,600 metres on the poly, and it was only a quiet gallop. He doesn't need a hell of a lot. He's quite fit naturally, and yeah, like I say, it's an even enough field, and I think if he can bring that form again from last start, he's got to be super hard to beat. So I'm super excited about getting back on him.
Obviously, the draw at Wellington, you sort of, by default, ended up in a beautiful position, and then you were able to strike at the right time. Barrier 8's not quite so straightforward. Where would you like to be in running?
Yeah, I think the race probably pans out a little bit different too. You've got a couple of horses that clearly want to go forward too. The race at Wellington, it was a bit humming and hawing who was actually going to go forward and who was going to do this. So, that was a bit of a tactical race, and I think this time it's a bit more straightforward with where the horses will be. There's a couple of horses in there that have been there, done that for a long time, and their racing pattern's been the same for a long time too. So that makes it a little bit easier to kind of map out where everyone's going to be. But like you say, we know he's a pretty versatile horse. I think fresh up last time he jumped and he got into a nice posse, but I'll just see how he jumps. He does leave the gates quite nicely, and we'll just see how the day's panning out. And obviously we've had a fair bit of rain here, so I'm guessing that track will chip out a fair bit on the inside, and who knows, we probably want to be off that rail anyway by that stage. And I think where he lands is where he's happy. He's pretty cruisy in the race. He doesn't overdo himself, so hopefully there's a bit of pace on and he can slot in somewhere and have the last say at them and storm down the outside.
If we move you along to Keats now in race number 8, looked like he tried really hard despite a few things not going his way last time.
Yeah, absolutely. There was bits and pieces there, and he's a horse. He's a strong horse, but he has got ability there, and I think the backing up of him last start was probably just a little bit much, and Shelley Hale was put her hands up to that. But yeah, it was something that the horse probably wasn't used to. So if he can back it up again and race in that solid form he is doing, he's got to be a chance.
And then if we move on to race number 10, you've got Billy Bunter, who just seems to be improving with every run. Does he feel like the 1,600 metres will suit?
Yeah, definitely. Been looking for that, and he's a horse who's only improving with racing, and he just happened to run into a smart one that got all favours in front, and he had to kind of do the donkey work and get back. He's still a little bit green, but the more racing he's having, the better he's being. So exciting to see what he can do in a nice little field.
And he got a good draw as well, Matt. That's always a plus, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. He's probably drawn out the last couple and been a bit awkward and kind of dictated to us to get back. So I think with that draw, we'll try be a bit more positive and get him as close as you can without having to chase as much as we have been. So, but we definitely know he'll be storming the last little bit.
Matt, thanks so much for your time today. Just before we let you go, could you give us your best on the card there at Te Rapa on Saturday?
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with the chosen one. He was pretty dominant last start, and we know he's a quality horse and probably one of the best horses in New Zealand at the moment going around. So very, very excited to ride him, and lucky enough to stick with him and do it again. So hopefully he can.
Fingers crossed. Group 1 success is coming your way on Saturday, Matt. Best of luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily.
Out and about on the form next, Aidan Rodley was in the car and out at track work on Tuesday morning, catching up with key connections before Legends Day at Te Rapa.
Kim come here on a Wednesday morning and just light work from Levante. When was her main gallop ahead of the BCD groups?
Well, she had, as you know, an exhibition gallop at Tauranga on before the first on Sunday. Worked very pleasantly, went with one of Jamie Richards, and they ran a nice time, and luckily we had that gallop because they called the meeting off.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's come through it fine?
Yes, very fine. She's very bright. She's happy, so did a bit of quite a work yesterday morning, and she'll have another hit out in the morning and probably have a little bit of a wind sprint. So yeah, she'll be pretty right for Saturday.
Absolutely, and a Group 1 winner now, and a spectacular Group 1 winner of the Telegraph. How did you assess that performance?
Oh, good tough effort, you know. I thought it was really tough. Sort of was a bit worried he'd gone a bit soon, but she really toughed it out and got there.
You must have been so proud of her because she'd been building to that.
Well, she really deserved it. I mean, she was a bit unlucky at times last year with her racing pattern or manners she got into of getting slow away, but thankfully she's jumping a lot better this year and putting herself forward, and was just a big relief to get that Group 1.
The way that she raced at Trentham, does it give you options for Te Rapa this weekend?
Well, I don't think she wants to be quite as handy as what she was the other day. She was very handy the other day, and you know, I think there's probably a bit of packing rock stars in it. He'll go forward. There's a bit of speed in it. Givo Severini. No, we'll have a look, see how the pattern of the day is going. You know, towards early races, but there's only going to be, looks like it's going to be a 8 or 9 horse field. So you know, at the worst scenario, she's only going to be 4 or 5 lengths off them. So, but biggest concern, of course, is the weather. You know, we've had a hell of a lot of rain in the last few days, and the forecast doesn't look good leading into Saturday. She'll cop with it a little bit. I think probably a 7, maybe even an 8, but sort of plays into the hands of our main rival, obviously, because she likes wet ground. So, but we're not a complete duffer in the ground, but it probably takes away her brilliant sprint.
The one dynamic that changes is the 1400 metres, but perhaps her best performance of last year was the Westbury Classic win at this trip.
Yes, I think that's probably going to help her a little bit, this 1400 metres, and she's actually won a mile, so yeah, that's probably going to be an advantage, but you know, we wouldn't want to see too much rain.
Okay, yeah, can you compare her to Trentham, how she's going into this one?
Oh, she's as well as Trentham. She's bright and bouncy and ready to go, so no excuses. Work's been good, everything's good, so she's eating good, so she's all systems go.
Has she got that air of Group 1 winner around her now?
Oh, she's always been a little bit like that anyway, because she's a little bit of a tart at times, but you know, most good fillies and mares are, you know, they're like that, but she's a little bit spoiled actually.
Is that from you, Ken?
No, from Megan probably. Beauty, thanks Aidan.
Mr. Sandman, bring us, please, 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 Mr. Sandman, bring us our
Up next on The Form, we jump across the ditch and link in with Sam Freedman, who's got a big team of runners across 2 states, of course, New South Wales and also Victoria. Sam, a very warm welcome into the show. Great to have you with us this morning.
Morning, Ellie. Thanks for having me on.
Let's start at Randwick, because you've got Zuzarella, who of course races in the Cambridge Stud colours, and geez, you must have been pretty happy with that trial. I've heard plenty of chat about her and what she was able to do at the trials.
Yeah, look, it was it was a nice trial. It was only a trial, but she seems to be prepping up, really well. She's been a filly that we've always had a very good opinion of. Big scopy filly, and obviously went off short price in the 1,000 guineas. Not sure she really stayed that trip out in the end. So she might be most effective over the shorter courses, and we're hopeful that she's pretty ready, fresh in what looks obviously a very hot race.
With her being a big scopy filly, has she made some quite good development during that spell?
Yeah, she's still got some filling out to do into her frame. She's enormous, but she's got a lot of strength there, and she's probably a filly that's going to get better at 4 as well. So very thankful to have her in the stable, and the support from Cambridge with her and in the stable has been unreal. So hopefully she can give them a really good result this prep.
Let's head down to Caulfield now, where you've got a host of other runners. If we start in race number 3, Daumier, very encouraging start to the career, great form, and obviously it's turned into a great form race, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, he's a very nice horse who, we probably felt the 1,000 might actually be on the sharper side for him, but he was strong all the way to the line, and he's he's quite workmanlike in his races. Obviously, you've seen he was challenged and probably headed and showed good fight to kick back and win. So he'll love the 1100. He'll love the 1200. Hopefully, of a Blue Diamond, and yeah, he looks probably our best in that race.
And then obviously the Philosopher comes through that as well. Same race as Domier. Talk me through that run. Were you pretty happy with what you saw?
Look, not overly happy. Probably felt that he's maybe better, just rolling along and being left alone. He was sort of anchored himself to the ground and looked, I don't know, to me like he was probably doing a little bit more within himself than might have really appeared just watching it, generally. But Linda Meach, who is a great front running jockey over here, she's jumping on board, and he'll be allowed to stride, and he's going up to the 1100, which is a natural query for him. But I think if he can just be allowed to stride, left alone, he'll he's obviously went off a shorter price than Dormier in that race. So when you look at it from that perspective, it wouldn't be difficult to see that he could possibly turn the tables.
And then your other runner in that event is River Ribble, who just looked a little bit green on debut. Have you noticed some nice improvements since that?
Yeah, look, he obviously kicked away and looked like the winner at Pakenham. It's a tough 1200 there at Pakenham, and he was first up. We probably would have preferred to have been going to an 1100. He was a little bit soft in condition, and that probably gave out that last sort of 50 metres. So he gets the blinkers on. He actually worked with Dormier on Tuesday morning. Dormier probably just had the measure of him, but I think we're quite a ride, allowed to balance up. River Ribble's going to end up at a very good level. It's just whether he's still a preparation away.
And then if we move on to race number 4, I thought we could touch on No Diggity first. Unbeaten in 2 runs to date. You can't really fault that, can you?
No, exactly. Winning form's good form, and she's not beaten a whole lot. But there haven't been any sort of standouts in the races that she's contested. So she needs to go up another notch against what looked like some really good fillies, and the fillies probably ran faster time in the preview. So it's a very good race, this, and she needs to improve. But we've got the blinkers on her. She actually trialled in them last Wednesday, and look, she's showing good signs. She's got a bad gait, but we'll probably ride her quiet and just let her hit the line hard.
And then Saturn Love's also in that same race. Just reading online that pulled up lame after last time to the races. What was the issue there? And obviously everything's okay if you're pressed on.
Yeah, no, look, there was actually no issue. So she trotted out sound the next morning. Just probably one of those things where straight after a race, the vets see them and she's probably had a tough run. So she was trapped wide. She was pretty soft in condition there, and she's tightened up for it. We're going to let her stride as well. Probably didn't enjoy being held up and restrained. She's a very big price. There's not a whole lot between probably the 3 of our fillies, and she's going to be, I would imagine, at the front of the bus or near the front, and she can improve sharply.
And then finally, Moko, tell us about this horse. You must have been happy with how it hit the line at the latest.
Yeah, look, she was a good debut performer. She's a filly that's in time probably going to want 1400, maybe a mile. So she gets the winkers on for this assignment, and expecting her to run well. But we'd love her to get into the Blue Diamond. But if she doesn't, we would look to probably stretch her out to 6 furlongs, and you might end up seeing her in a sires in Melbourne, something like that.
And then race number 5, Argentia, briefly resumed in September in the Atlantic Duel. What led you to turn the horse out again and start afresh?
Look, she actually got injured in that run. She obviously in the same race as Zuzarella. We probably had Argentia a little bit higher rated than Zuzarella at the time, and unfortunately she just ended up with a little stress fracture over her back and needed some time out after that. So she's had a couple of trials for this first up run. She's pretty soft in condition, so you'd be a little wary that she's going to take a lot of improvement and feel the pinch late. So we'll let her balance up and hit the line, but she's one to follow probably after Saturday once she's had a run under her belt.
And then race number 6, Open Minded. You bring a fit and in-form horse to the races. You must be expecting some good things.
Yeah, we are. Look, he steps out to the mile for the first time, which is, that's probably the query with him. We had a little doubt on him at 1400, and he ticked that box 2 runs in a row. So a good opportunity to try him at this trip with quite a few sort of stayers resuming. The overseas horse Normandy Bridge looks a real talent. I think I've got a decent opinion of that horse. So look, we're a very fit horse. I don't think you'll see a fitter horse at the races, but and he makes his own luck up on the speed. But he's got to run out the mile, and he's unbeaten at the track, 4 from 4. So there's a few things in his favour. He's just got to see out the trip.
Yep, exactly right. And then we move on to a couple of pretty talented colts in race number 7, Extreme Flight and Artorius. And we'll start with Extreme Flight. Prior to the Coolmore Stud Stakes, Geez was in cracking form. How has he developed during that time off?
Look, he's actually made really good development physically. He looks terrific. He's probably another one a little soft in condition. We're hoping he's on an Australian Guineas pass, so he needed to get to the races this week. He trialled on Monday, trialled well, hit the line nicely. The 1100 I would expect for him is a bit too sharp, and in that sort of class, he's not going to be able to win, I wouldn't think, at 1100, but he'll find the line well and hopefully give some promise going forward.
And you've got Artorius at the top of the market. Geez, what a good effort. Went back in distance there in the Coolmore Stud Stakes. How is he shaping up? He's
well, yeah. We didn't know what his best distance was obviously going to be in the spring. He ran over every trip pretty much and performed admirably in every race. He's very, very consistent. The 1100 on the weekend, look, it's probably on the sharp side for him, but he's we've kept him pretty fresh. He's had a couple of trials and his work's been sharp. He's spotting some good horses, a bit of a start, I would imagine, there at Caulfield, but look, he'll be rattling home. He's on a path to head towards a new market, so this is the run that he really needs to have to keep him on track. Like a lot of our horses there on Saturday are sort of resuming, and it gets their preparations underway. It'd be easy to see that a few of our horses, won't be winning, but they'll hopefully be hitting the line.
And then race number 8, the Group 1, Sinawan is your chance in that. 9 weeks off and resumed with a nice effort in behind the very talented Marabi. Did you feel there was improvement pre-race?
Yeah, there definitely was. He actually didn't really go out of work after his win in the spring. He sort of went to the Water Walker and had a bit of a freshen, and we went too hard on him going into that first up run. We kept some sprint in his legs for the 1200. It was never going to be a formula that was going to see him winning. It's 1200 at the Valley, but he hit the line as well as we could have hoped, and gets back to Caulfield, out to the 1400. This has basically been his target race for the preparation, so hopeful that a plan can come off.
And also the second up form, I had a little look at that. What is it? I think 3 wins in just 4 starts. That's pretty encouraging too.
Yeah, it is. Look, he's generally a horse that takes a run and then gets going. We're still learning about him. We've obviously only had him for the 3 starts, but he's a very talented horse, and hopefully everyone can see that on the weekend.
I know, Sam, you indicated that a number of these horses are fresh and are going to improve and to follow them down the track, but if you had to label one as your best on Saturday, what would it be?
Look, the best winning chance, I would think, is probably Sinawan, I would hope, but I could have something on Satin Love to place at a huge price.
Love your work. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Sam, and best of luck there on the weekend.
Cheers. Thanks, Emily.
Well, we switch codes now on the form and welcome in Craig Thompson to our coverage. And it's a Saturday night treat at Alexandra Park, Craig, isn't it? Because just 6 races, but high on quality and big on prize money.
Big on prize money. Good morning to you, Emily, and the viewers as well. Over $500,000 for 6 races on Saturday night. Of course, it's on trackside too, with our coverage beginning around about 7:45. We've got head-to-heads on some super performers, the likes of Franco Indy taking on Akuta in race number 5. We've got the Cup winner Self Assured taking on the free-for-all winner in South Coast Arden in the last. And then we really got an entree to the main course early on with Sunday Sun taking on Bolt for Brilliance. The best of the North taking on the best of the South. I think it's going to be a really good night Saturday night. Unfortunately, it's in the traffic light system, Emily, so no crowds on track. Atmosphere will be a little bit more quiet, but the racing certainly won't be.
No, it won't. Certainly shaping up to be a wonderful night of action. As you said, race 1 certainly kicks things off with a hiss and a roar because Sunday Sun's going around. Very, very impressive win last time, Craig.
Yeah, outstanding performance at Invercargill. He was brilliant at Omakau. He actually missed a race leading into Saturday night last week. Emily, the race got canned, not enough nominations, but his Invercargill performance was outstanding. You can see him here rolling in front, Oscar Bonavina on his back, and they took off a long way from home. Another record. He's just the best horse in Australasia. It's simply a fact. And he likes Alexandra Park. He won this race last year, Emily, the Lyell Creek. I reckon he'll go back to back. $1.30, I know it's short. There's going to be a lot of short price favourites on Saturday night. Multis are going to be the way to play, but you can see him here extending like he does. Obviously, prior to that, he was massive at Omakau. Brilliant winning the Dominion Handicap at Group 1 level. He's the best horse here. He's got a lovely draw. His main rival drawn inside him in Bolt for Brilliance, who's got very good gate speed. And just looking at the map, how I see it happening here, Emily, I think Bolt for Brilliance will get across them at the start. Probably hand to Sunday Sun, and the two favourites will then get their chances to out-duke each other over the 2,200 metres. But yeah, Bolt for Brilliance, he's an up-and-coming, taking on the old fella in Sunday Sun.
Looking forward to that one. If we now focus our attention on the latter part of the programme, race number 5, as you mentioned in the intro, is a bit of a treat because it's a match race, isn't it, between Franco Indy and Akuta. Who are you siding with?
Well, it's a difficult race to get a line on because Akuta's been the big hype horse ever since the Jewels, and obviously his Group 1 win last year in the Sire Stakes. This draw that he's got is the only draw that Mark Purdon didn't want. That barrier 9. That's the reason he's got out to $2. He was $1.40 all the way through the futures. He was a hot favourite. And when Franco Indy comes up with barrier 2 and his gate speed, it makes it very difficult for Akuta. If you go back to Alexandra Park last week, now Akuta's in the 1-1. He's in the yellow bar colours, the black colours, and Akuta is on his outside in the lime green colours, the Cullen breeding colours. He just gets a bit wayward, Franco Indy, and he starts to bore out on Akuta, and they both went great. Now, I put a clock on Akuta and he ran home at 54.4, and that was his first time at the park. I thought he was very good. Franco Indy had probably the easier runs of the two. You can see Self Assured in front, the cup winner. So the 3-year-olds racing the older brigade, that's never easy at this level. I thought they both performed adequately. Franco Indy with a better draw. He'll start favourite. But I haven't written off Akuta here, Emily. I think Mark Purdon will get off the markers at some stage. He'll be outside Franco Indy. We'll see the best 3-year-olds go head-to-head up Alexandra Park.
You spoke of Self Assured, and of course we get to see the horse in the final race on the programme there at Alexandra Park, Craig, and starts as a short-priced favourite. Obviously South Coast Arden is the main challenger in this one, but great to see Self Assured back at the track. Well,
he's a horse that's obviously come back from Cup Week, a lot better horse. I mean, his 2 runs back at Alexandra Park, both times he's had to sit parked out and win. The last of them beating Franco Indy in that video. I'm going to have a look at it again because it's the key video to show, because a lot of the race rivals are in here, the likes of BD Joe and Dance Time. You can see Self Assured. Maurice McKendry actually drove this night. Mark Purdon having to drive his own horse, Akuta, sitting outside the leader. And the little bloke, he's not big, but he's got a massive heart, and he just strides to the front here. Now, previous to that, he beat BD Joe at Alexandra Park, again having to sit parked out. He may be in the same spot for 3 weeks in a row here, Emily, because there's so much gate speed. I see Kango as your early leader. You've got South Coast Arden drawn between the two. I can see an aggressive Brett Mangos looking to get him as handy as possible. And out wider, the Jules winner, BD Joe, likes to go forward as well. So if you have to ask me who do I think will win, I think Self Assured. I think the $1.55 is probably a little bit of unders. You may get a little bit longer closer to the night, but I think his preparation with him having 2 runs under his belt versus Self Assured, who's just had one very quiet trial and one tame win at Cambridge last time, would point me him in that direction. South Coast Arden's win at Cambridge was good. Don't get me wrong. Have a look at it here in front, but gee, it was a pretty sedate race. There was only 4 in it. He got to the front. He walked Brett Mangos, and this was just basically like a trial. He let them run up the lane. Kango's in the yellow cap getting to his inside. And what was a very close finish at the end. There was only a nose between them, but I think South Coast Arden, what he does do is he just does enough. And I think Brett Mangos, he didn't overly get too aggressive on him inside the last 50 metres. I think he did what he had to do. He'll be a better horse for the run. And you only have to go back to the free-for-all when these two met back in November, and Self Assured was good enough to hold out. South Coast Arden was good enough to hold out Self Assured. This is going to be a great race. The last, they're not the only 2 in the race. The likes of Kango's been in very good form, and Hot and Treacherous is an exciting horse coming through. But as I said, said, a lot of the races are going to be head-to-heads on Saturday night. Of course, kicks off trackside 2 at 7:51.
Really looking forward to it. Craig, thanks so much for your time this morning. Great to get your insight into those feature races, as we said at the start. 6 races, Alexandra Park on a Saturday night, prize money up and fantastic quality horses. So all of it right here on Trackside. We head down south on the form now and say a very warm welcome to Matt Cross. Matt, great to have you with us this morning. And we've got a couple of meetings to get into, really, haven't we? Addington to start things off, but weather might play a part in both of the meetings over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, Emily. Hi to you. Hi to everybody. Gee, we've had a fair bit of rain here in the Christchurch region over the last 24 hours. So for punters at Riccarton, that track's been put to a heavy 10 currently. There's not too much rain between now and race day, just a couple of mils. So it might be on the drying side with the high of 25 degrees today, Thursday, and then 22 tomorrow. But I'm picking that track at Addington on Friday night will be in good order as long as there's no rain around in the couple of hours leading up to the meeting. But I'm sure the farmers are happy, but punters at Riccarton on Saturday might just be scratching their heads a little more, courtesy of the weather that we've had.
We can get into Riccarton second. I wanted to touch on the Addington Harness on Friday night first with you, Matt, because we do have a Group 1 to look forward to, don't we? The 50th New Zealand Breeders' Mobile Pace at Group 1 level. And I know Need You Now is a horse in form, but there's a number of other key contenders in this one.
Yeah, well, Better Twist, she's been the pin-up girl right through her 3-year-old campaign, and her run at Addington last time out I thought was excellent. She went back from a wide barrier draw, had to improve around mid-race, and they were running some pretty torrid sectionals up front, a 155 mile rate. She was never on the track for the middle part of the race, had to race 3 wide for the last 800 metres in the breeze, and for her to be only beaten as far as what she did, Better Twist, I thought was a really strong effort. That's Better Talk Art in front, turning for home. Now, she burnt off the gate more than anything else in the race, and she was brave finishing into 5th. Belle of Montana around her in the Purdon Phelan colours. She's another one that worked mid-race, and the key with her for Friday night's Group 1 is she comes up with barrier number 1, and that's a barrier that's been really kind to her in the Group 1s in the past, Belle of Montana. She was victorious in the Victorian Oaks out of Barrier 1. She won the Group 1 Ladyship Cup out of Barrier 1 and won the Group 1 Harness Jewels, all from barrier number 1. Zachary Butcher driving her is going to have plenty of options off the inside gate with the 6-time Group 1 winner, the horse drawn directly to her outside, All-American Lover. She had a tricky gate in that Group 1. We just saw her flashing home for a very gallant second in that affair, and Better Twist has a really gorgeous swing in barrier draws coming into barrier 3. I think the 2,600 metres suits her comparatively. Her last mile was 154.2 in that race, which was excellent, having not raced for just over a month. So that should bring her on nicely. Up to the 2,600 metres is going to be a big factor for her, Better Twist. So she's awfully hard to beat. Belle of Montana should strip fritter as well off barrier 1. She'll be giving a sight. Zachary Butcher, great big race driver, and a mare that he's got so much time for. She's right in the fight. All-American Lover might have a crack early. I just wonder what Tim Williams will do there. There's probably cover for him somewhere in the first half of the race, and you have to respect Need You Now. She's never won as far as 2,600 metres, but she did place second and behind Krug in a strong 2,600 metre affair in the Junior Free for All. And for trifectas and first 4 players, there's a lot of respect around for Life's a Beach and Better Talk Art. They're both worth including. But I think one of Belle of Montana, All-American Lover, or Better Twist will win the race. It does become a little harder for Need You Now. But for the 50th running, there's been some very good mares along the way take this out, Emily, and we'll find out at 11 minutes to 8 who the next one is to add their name to what is already a glorious honour roll.
It most definitely is. So let's have a little chat about Riccarton as well, and I guess track conditions will play a big part in the Riccarton meeting. 10 races scheduled, first of the day at 12:13. Matt, have you identified a couple for us that we can follow?
I have, Emily. I think it'll become a little bit more clear when we get to the race day as to how that track's going to play. The rail is out 8 metres to the 1,000, and then it's out 11 metres to the winning post. So it's obviously tempo related, and we always say that. But with the rail out, getting up onto the speed, particularly being able to handle wet track conditions, is going to be a massive key. And I've got a couple for you. Race number 4, Chiquito, carries a fair bit of weight up the top of the book. Runner number 2, excellent. Gore winning on a slow 7 last time out, and she was very gallant. There's only 1,100 metres for her, Chiquito, in the 4th on the card. Rockland is the horse to beat. No form on wet tracks. He's never really been tried, and to be fair, his best races have been run on top of the ground. Eptiman's a must respect, dropping out of the Telegraph at his last start run, and Anduin seems to be going well. He's actually nominated for a later race on the program, which might suit him as well. But I think Chiquito in race number 4 is one of the better bets on the card. We move to race number 6 at Riccarton Park. Pretty even rating, 65, but there's a horse in here who I just think with her breeding might tick a couple of boxes on the slow track conditions, or at least it might even be heavy there on Saturday, and that's number 8, Sorrento. We often see the form out of the 3-year-old stakes races through the spring stack up. She had a run on Boxing Day at Wingatui and behind Ruby's Lad, and I thought she was very good there over the 1,200 metres. Big roomy track at Riccarton Park. She's drawn close enough for John and Karen Parsons. If you look at her form, she finished 4th in behind Novair back on the 23rd of October, and I think that's certainly good enough to be taking out a rating 65. And if you wanted one more, just a horse that caught my eye first up, physically and the way that she ran. If you go to the last race, the rating 74, 2000, a horse that's stepping up in ground from the 1600 is runner number 11, Career Away. This horse has the blinkers on, second up. She's a big grouse mare, Terry Ray, Tenakomniahi combined, so there's a lot of ticks on paper for her, and she's certainly worth following there in the last. But as I say, Emily, things will become a little clearer closer to the race day, but at this stage we will be racing on a rain-affected track. Whether that's a drying rain-affected track or a loose wet track, we'll know more on Sunday, but looks a pretty even go across the card.
Yeah, it definitely does. Matt, as always, great work, and thanks so much for your time. Great to have you with us on The Form this morning.
Thanks, Emily.
Well, that's it from us here on The Form this morning. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show and got plenty of insight into the weekend's runners. Best of luck with your investments, and as always, if you want more info, head to tab.co.nz for lots of exciting options. We'll be back with you soon right here on The Form.